What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode 9 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. I've got producer Noah here with me. Noah, say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? I don't have a speech this week.
We've got a dub pod.
Yeah.
We've got a dub pod. Our very first dub pod on Lobbing Scorchers. We've been waiting for this day. We've had a couple draws. We've had an L. We've been waiting for a dub. It's always going to be more fun on this show when we've got a dub, and we've got one. 1-0 over the Houston Dynamo at Lumen Field. Albert Rusnak with the game winner. Another clean sheet for the back line, Stephen Fry, and the defense, and that's a 1-0 dub. Important dub. Seattle's now 9-7-5 and on 32 points. Level on points with LAFC, who, in their hungover state, lost 2-0 to FC Dallas yesterday. So Seattle's level with them on points for second in the West. And needed this dub. Was not the most emphatic dub of all time. Seattle were the beneficiaries of a second-half red card that no doubt helped the cause.
A classic Houston move.
Yeah, Houston now has 3 red cards in the 2 games that they've played against Seattle this year. So they are kind of making that a trademark move. But the way things have been going for this team for the past 8 or so weeks, there's no style points right now. A dub is an absolute dub. So we're going to break it down for you, have some fun with it. We're going to start off. I'm going to just do my little recap and my opening takes. And then we'll riff on it a little more and then do a couple quick hitters on the results around the rest of the league and the USMNT at the Gold Cup, and then we'll get out of here. So let's get into it. So the main character of this game, in my opinion, turned out to be none other than Cody Baker. For the first hour or so of this game, I would say things looked a lot like they had for the previous 8 or so weeks. It was 0-0. Seattle had a couple of okay chances to score in the first half. I think the best one was the play where Leo Chu got the ball. He's completely isolated on the left side of the box. He lays it off for Rusnak, and there's a half-hearted PK shout. Rusnak ends up going down. There's no shot on target. That was a good chance, and then there was the one deflection to Nico Ladero where he had a pretty open look and skied it. So there's a couple of, I would qualify those as half chances, but they didn't score either of them. And this game was still 0-0 right around the hour mark. But things turned in this game around that 60th minute. And that's where we have to dive in to the story of Cody Baker and also the story of Houston defender Mikael. Because the stories of these two are truly intertwined in this game. Mikael left a legacy in this game. He was the other main character. So it all started when Cody Baker got a yellow card in the 54th minute for a hard tackle on Nelson Quinones, which got the Houston players in a little bit of a tizzy. They were not happy. And then a few minutes later, Cody has the ball. He's making a run down the right side. He's making a good run. He took it all the way from the right flank, and he's charging into the box. And the ball gets taken off him right as he's trying to get in the box by Mikael, and he fouls Mikael pretty hard. And that got the Houston players even more riled up. They're campaigning for him to get sent off. At one point, Cody had meandered all the way back over to midfield, and the Houston players were screaming at him. They're standing all the way near the Seattle penalty box, and they're yelling at Cody, who's all the way back over at midfield. Cody Baker doesn't give a fuck, dude. That's what I like about him. A lot of times with young players, there's a tentative nature to how they play because they don't want to make mistakes. There does not seem to be any of that with Cody Baker. Every chance he's got, he goes out there. He's playing his game. He's a hard-nosed, physical defender, not afraid to mix it up. He doesn't care that he's 19. And I don't know. I just think that's a great sign. It's fun to watch. It was very entertaining in this instance. And I think we here at Lobbing Scorchers continue to be just nothing but high on Cody Baker's presence on this team right now and his development. He's doing well. But this was probably his most impactful moment so far, I would say. Anyway, so very shortly after that whole sequence, Cody has the ball in his own end, back over by the Seattle 18, and Mikael just lays him out. He saw his chance to retaliate, and he took it. And at that point, I even said in the press box, okay, that should have been a yellow. The foul itself isn't egregious, but it was very clearly retaliatory, and he was targeting him because he was frustrated. The ref calls the foul, but he doesn't give the yellow. But that arguably could have been a yellow in the context of what had just happened, but it's not given. Just after that, maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, it might not have even been that long, Mikael gets his first yellow for coming in late on a challenge on Nico Ladero. And I said in the press box, you can ask Jeremiah O'Shen, man, like, he's lucky not to get sent off right there. That foul on Cody right before should have been a yellow. That would have been his second yellow if that had been given. But, whatever. But I was like, that would have been pretty funny because he would have gotten 2 yellows in like 3 minutes there. That would have been crazy. Literally 10 seconds later, JP is threading a ball through to Kellen Rowe on the right side. Kellen has Mikael beat. He's going to get around him and be off and running into space, and Mikael just blocks him off and tactical fouls him. Auto yellow, immediately sent off, and Houston's down to 10 men. So by the time it was all said and done, my guy had picked up 2 yellow cards in 49 seconds and arguably, could have had the third for the foul on Cody right before that. So it's really 3 yellow cards in my eyes. It won't go down in the books like that, but that's how I see it. Cody Baker made that red card happen. He got in Mikael's head. He was posted up, rent-free. He's got this guy dishing retaliatory fouls, charging into late challenges. He's tactical fouling when he's already on a yellow, all because he got into an on-field beef with a 19-year-old child who's played 600 MLS minutes. So Mikael gets sent off, putting Seattle up a man with 30 minutes to go. If you're Houston, you can't do that. You're up against it as the road team playing in Seattle anyway. Your whole game plan is to keep it to zeros as long as possible and maybe poach one if you can. So you can't really be getting into fights with 19-year-olds and getting sent off. That's not going to help your cause. It's definitely not going to make attaining a result any more likely if you do that. And at that point, Seattle's got a big advantage, obviously, but the pressure was very much on after that red card. I was thinking to myself, okay, they have to score now. You cannot let this finish 0-0. That's what Houston's going to try and do. They were going to try and Benny ball their way to that anyway. And now down to man, they're really going to try and do that. And with how things have been going for Seattle on offense lately, it was not a given that they were going to score there. I'm not going to sit here and say that as soon as that red card happened with that much time left, I was like, okay, this game is chalked. They're gonna for sure get at least 1 goal now. I figured they would, but I can't say I was confident in that. But 5 minutes after the red card, it finally happened, Noah. The Seattle Sounders scored a goal.
Let's go.
They scored a goal 400 some odd minutes after the last time they scored a goal at Lumen Field. They scored a goal. It was a great goal, actually. Great goal. Fantastic interplay between Nico and Leo Chu to create that chance. Nico slides Leo Chu right in front of goal. Clinical finish from Rusnak. He's right there, lines it up, scorches the back of the net, and you could feel the release in that stadium. Noah, you were in the crowd, so you probably know what I'm talking about. The crowd was going nuts, almost to the point where it seemed sarcastic a little bit. I don't know. Like the players were celebrating harder than I've seen them celebrate a goal all season. Nico Ladero had a funny reaction. He didn't even join the dog pile. He just had this look that was just like, dude, fucking finally.
Yeah.
Like,
they've been knocking for so long. Everyone, I think, it was a big sigh of relief, but more than that, it was just like, we're so back.
Yeah, that
was
so
back.
That was how it felt. Even up a man, like that was the vibe. We've been talking about how this team needed a vibe enhancer. All it was going to take was a goal like that. That's all it was going to take. So they finally got it.
They were cooking the whole game, though. They were knocking the whole game.
They were knocking. I don't know about that. I didn't think they were knocking that hard in the first half. They had the 2 chances. I'll give them credit for
they
that.
Had the 2.
And then after the red card, they were for sure knocking. But like, I don't know how much you attribute that to them being up a man versus like them having a breakthrough on offense. That's what we're going to find out, I think, in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
But they had been knocking quite a bit. And
they were doing what they had been doing.
Right.
Which was putting in chances.
They were putting in chances. And they just needed that goal so bad. It doesn't matter that it didn't come until they were up a man. It doesn't matter that it finished 1-0 and they didn't add to it. They just needed to score. They needed to win a game, and they needed to do both of those things at home, which they had not been doing. 400 minutes from their last home goal is a crazy stat. You really never see that from this team. You never see that from this team. As down bad with injuries, absences, and personnel or whatever, they've been in situations like this before, and I'm pretty sure that 400 minutes is a record. So cathartic to see. Had to have it. Seattle was able to see it out from there. They were in control the rest of the way. Like you mentioned, they were knocking. They could have had that second goal. They managed the game well when they had to. We talk a lot about game management on this show. I thought the game management up a goal and a man was very good. There was a lot of knocking the ball around in Houston's end, which is fine. If you're up a goal and a man, you don't have any obligation necessarily to be throwing all kinds of crazy numbers forward and risk letting them get out in transition. So I thought that was good. I thought they could have had that second goal. There was the one chance Houston had right before the final whistle where I think everyone's heart skipped a beat for a second, where former Seattle Sounder Brad Smith, who made his return to Lumen Field and got a nice little ovation. Shout out Brad Smith. He was a very good Sounder while he was here. He sent across that got over Yamar, and the Houston striker got on the end of it, and he put the header on target, and everyone in the press box was like, "Oh my God, they're about to ship this goal," but he didn't get good contact on it, and it ended up being really easy for Stephen Fry, right at him, no velocity on the shot. Yeah. So
I think he almost was trying to sell a penalty or something. It was weird. It was a weird.
He didn't have his body positioned like in a way where he could get any power at all on the shot.
Yeah,
it was great service from Brad, and the dude he was in the right spot, like where Yamar couldn't get to him, but he could. There was no way with how his body was positioned that he could have got any power on it.
But I mean,
it was a pretty clean look.
It did look. I think everyone was
expecting it to go in. I know that.
It was no. Oh.
So it ends up as the 11th clean sheet of the season for the defense. And you had
leading MLS.
AB Sissoko was starting at CB in this game. I thought he was solid. So good to know that he's still looking like a viable option there with Javi out long term. So not the prettiest dub I've ever seen, but I mean, like I said, that doesn't matter. It was a necessary one. This team needed a vibe shift, a vibe enhancer. I think this qualifies. They just had to get one by whatever means necessary, and they got one. I don't think this necessarily shows that all the issues this team has on offense are solved. I didn't think Rui Diaz was involved enough in this game. You can't really rely on the other team getting a red card every game unless it's the Houston Dynamo, apparently. So they need to build on this and start scoring goals consistently. But for this team right now, it's all about treading water, staying afloat until Christian Roldan and Jordan Morris get back. You can field something closer to something resembling a first-choice lineup. You can hopefully get a jolt, make a push in Leagues Cup, and for home playoff games. This is the type of grinded-out result they need to be able to get right now, so it's a good sign that they were able to get it. Dub is a dub. We got to talk about Ben Olsen's reaction to all of this because Ben-O had some takes. I watched his presser. Benny, needless to say, he was not happy. He was not happy about the sequence of events that he just witnessed. Ben-O got a yellow card himself in this game shortly after Mikael got sent off. JP went in on a slide tackle right in front of the Houston bench, and the Houston bench went nutty asking for a card of some color. I don't know if they were arguing it for it to be yellow or red, probably red. And the ref didn't even call foul. They kept yelling for what seemed like about 5 minutes after, but in reality was probably more like 1 to 2 minutes. And finally, the ref came over and gave Ben-O a yellow, which was sick. You don't really see a sideline yellow all that often. You have to really be giving it to the ref to get a sideline yellow. And I don't know about you, I thought Ben-O might get sent off. He was going so hard. Anyway, after the game, Ben-O said that neither foul on Mikael was a yellow card in his mind, which I consider to be a take and a half. They were both at least defensible yellows. The first one on Nico, he comes in late and he gets him in the back of the leg. He cleats him. And then the second one, whether you think Kellen Rose sold it or not, you just can't do that when you're already on a yellow. If that's called a foul, which when you do that, you're putting yourself in a 50-50 situation that it's going to get called. Then it's an auto yellow if that foul gets called. So him being on a yellow, you just can't cut off a runner like that. That's
silly.
That's going to get called at least some portion of the time, depending on who the ref is. And if it does get called a foul, then it's an auto yellow and you're sent off. So I don't really think there's much hard done about that. And then especially when you take, I think something with the first yellow too is he might have gotten away with that as just a common foul if he hadn't laid out Cody Baker right before that. Like, I don't know if that's what the ref was thinking for when he gave the yellow, but I think that's possible given how close in proximity those two fouls were. So Benno also didn't really acknowledge that, but I think that might have had something to do with it. And Benno was also hopping mad about the JP slide tackle. And I think basically his argument was how the first one on Mikael is yellow, but the JP one is nothing, which I can tell you why, which is because the JP one was a clean tackle. I don't even need to watch the replay to tell you. I had a great view of it from the press box. He gets to the ball way before that guy is even involved in the play, and he slides in and cleans it out of bounds, and the guy trips over him, which that's not a foul. Like, I think that was actually the no call was the right call. Houston got a throw in on the play. So Benno, he was blowing a little bit of smoke right there. Benno's done a good job with Houston this year. They've overperformed expectations, and I definitely get what he's trying to do. It's always more beneficial optics-wise to portray it like you got hard done than acknowledge that your player took a bad red card. But anyway, if you want some good entertainment, go check out the Benno presser. He was spitting.
Let him
it was
cook.
Fun times. He was cooking.
Let him lob some scorchers.
Let Benno cook anytime.
As a treat.
I'm always down for a disgruntled coach presser.
Oh, yeah.
I literally, like, I have access to all the media assets for every coach that we have for the MLS website. And I literally, if there's like a controversial play or a controversial call, I'm kind of sick like this. I'll literally pull up that presser. Peter Vermees is one of my favorites. Like,
a legend.
If there's a call that goes against Sporting KC, like, you know he's going to be spitting. Like, you just know it. So I always tune into PV after a controversial Sporting KC game. There's a few coaches around the league that really like to spit. Benno is he spits sometimes, but I feel like
he's no Greg Vanney.
No, Greg Vanney's had some legendary spitting this year. I mean, he had the one after the Seattle game that we all had a good time with. But he was actually spitting after the Galaxy game last night too, because they had a controversial PK waved off, and he was actually right.
They
got their PK taken away on VAR. It's one of those ones where VAR go review it, and then they change it to the wrong call, which that just drives me nuts, like, under any circumstance. But I got to imagine for a coach, if you have the right call on the field and then it gets flipped on review to the wrong call, which I think in this situation in the Galaxy game, that's exactly what happened. They had it right as a PK on the field, and he goes back and changes it. And the Galaxy, they gave up 2 leads in that game, but they probably, assuming they convert the penalty, there
were
cost
some
them
weird
the win.
VAR calls in that game.
I only saw the one. I didn't watch that game, but I saw the Greg Vanney content that we had go up on the website. So I went back and looked at that call, and I was like, "Yo, that Greg Vanney's he's right.
got a shout for sure." That was a weird moment.
Yeah, but
pro referee on display.
There's those were the two good coach spitting of the week. Maybe that should be a segment, like whoever was spitting the hardest after a controversial call.
We'll have to get him on.
Benno was lobbing his scorchers. Greg Vanney was lobbing. So we got some good content out of that on the website. That's for sure.
There you go. MajorLeagueSoccer.com.
MLSsoccer.com, by the way.
Not a sponsor, be a sponsor.
Seattle hits the road next to take on the Vancouver Whitecaps at BC Place next Saturday.
A return home for Freddie
They're
Montero.
going to Canada. They'll be hitting up Tim Hortons. Some Canadian bacon and maple syrup might be consumed. So we'll preview that next week. we're aiming to keep starting to keep a set schedule here on Lobbing Scorchers, and both for our own planning purposes, and then also so you all, the people, know when to expect it. So our current plan for that is to record these game reactions and breakdowns on Sunday, release Monday, then record our previews on Thursday, release Friday. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try and adhere to that as much as possible. It might change. Some weeks we might have to have an emergency pod if it comes up.
Sometimes
or
it's going to happen.
Sometimes our schedules might not quite allow for that, but that's what we're going to try and set to going forward.
Sometimes we get midweek games.
And sometimes there are midweek games but when we have the midweek games, we can just rip it for the Thursday one.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think it's going to work out. We're going to try and keep to that, so keep an eye out for a Vancouver preview dropping on Friday, hopefully. We'll talk some Whitecaps. I'll give you the lowdown, give you the scouting report. The last time these teams played at BC Place, Vancouver won 2-0. I don't know why they're playing both in Vancouver so close to each other. Usually you see that the second game, the other team gets it at home. So not sure what's going on with the scheduling there, but Seattle's got to hop across the border again.
It's probably monster trucks going on here, Ari. We know what takes precedent.
There might be. I haven't seen the monster truck schedule at Lumen
All-Star
lately,
game. That's probably what it is.
Oh, good point, Noah. See, that's why you got the facts online.
That's what I'm here for.
I got some quick hitters here, but I don't know. Noah, did you have anything on the Houston? What was it like? What was it like in the stands when Albert scored that? What was the vibe?
So full transparency, I wasn't in the stands.
Oh, I thought you were.
I was not there. I had a
I forgot you weren't going. That's my bad.
I did have a ticket.
We can edit that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was just gonna leave it in, which makes it even funnier because whatever. But
you're usually in the stands.
I am
normally
in the
stands.
But so I'm gonna just I'm just gonna bullshit and just tell you what I think it was like in the stands.
What was your personal reaction when Albert scored? How about that?
I had the noties on. I was actually in a swamp. Fun fact: I was in a swamp helping assist with a photo shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But I got the notification. My phone was playing music, and I had the sofa score notifications on, and it goes boom, like it's a little goal, ball hitting the back of the net, crowd cheering, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm literally in the middle of this water. And I'm like, I have to see who scored. And I saw it was Albert. And I did a full swan dive into this swamp because I was so excited. It was amazing.
Well, we've been talking about this a lot. Albert's been playing higher up the field, cooking at the 10 the last few weeks, and I've been beating this drum. He can do that. If you don't believe he can do that, I'll say it again.
Rosnack haters be damned.
Watch his RSL highlights. Look at the numbers. If you put him in those spots, he can do that stuff. And so I think not just the fact that they scored a goal, but that it was Albert that scored it. I mean, that is a window into what he can do playing higher up the field at that position. He produces in this league. It's the track record is what it is. So
yeah, no, we've been beating that drum pretty hard.
We've been beating the drum,
and we were right. Yeah, it was only a matter of time before that form got well, and we did record a preview pod, but due to that was on me. We didn't get it out there for the people, but. We were talking about how this team is finally kind of getting settled on this rotated lineup, and we were saying, honestly, Raul being back was huge, but we were also talking about how Rusnak finally, the third game he's played up higher,
I think
in a row, 4 in a row, yeah,
3 or 4, yeah,
yeah. So he's he was ready. It was his time.
Yeah, and it's where Brian Schmetzer, I think, even said it's where he prefers to play. He's been making a sacrifice, dropping back a line because it made more sense with the personnel. But I'm glad it's finally happening. I'll also give you credit for a good take, Noah, because they don't come around very often.
No, they don't.
So when you hit on one, I think it deserves to be noted. You did say that you thought Seattle was gonna win this game, and you said it confidently. It wasn't just I want them to win, so I'm gonna say that I think they're gonna win. It was based on these circumstances, I think this is a dub right here.
Yeah,
and
I'm learning.
And you were right. They got the dub.
Yeah.
I was even saying, I think it being the Dynamo traveling here, they're a bad road team and they always struggle when they come to Seattle. I just don't really know if I trust that Seattle can score. That was my hesitancy. But you were saying I think this is a dub, and it was a dub. So good job. I'm kind of surprised that you hit on that.
Shout out to the Seattle Sounders Football Club for making my take look good. You boys are the real ones to thank.
Good take for Noah. We're gonna make a segment on there. You'll probably hear one of those once every 13 or 14 or so episodes.
Yeah.
So we'll always make sure and highlight it when it happens because there's always going to be some novelty to that. I think that we can about call it for a Seattle reaction unless you had anything else.
Nothing more to add to that.
It was great to see a dub.
It felt good.
Doing a dub pod is always going to be more enjoyable for us. I think I can enjoy a pod where it's not a dub, but it was at least like an action-packed, entertaining game, like the Charlotte game.
Yeah.
Like that was a really good pod because there was goals flying around. It was back and forth, up and down. So those are good too, but like a dub is always going to be a vibe enhancer. So
and shout out to Mark Kastner for coming home so that the Sounders could win.
That's a good point. Mark Kastner, who you might recognize as our guest from one of our previous pods, he made a guest appearance at the Lobbing Scorchers Mansion,
correct,
where we live here this weekend, and he was in town for the game, and they got a dub for Mark too. So yeah, shout out to Mark. It was fun having him at the crib. I got a couple quick hitters to close us out. The U.S. men's national team is performing well at the Gold Cup. The anonymous bots.
Whoa. The C team is doing what? The Major League Soccer players?
The B or C team, whatever you want to call it, they're doing well. They got another 6-0 win today over Trinidad and Tobago. And the anonymous bots are kind of in the mud, which you always like to see. Christian Roldan has a couple of assists in these games, and Jesus Ferreira now has 2 hat tricks in a row. So tough for the bot agenda. Hate to see it.
Hate to see the MLS haters in the mud.
They're out of the group. So, the early group stages of these Gold Cup games, you're playing a couple of overmatched opponents. Usually, they tied Jamaica. Which Jamaica, I think that honestly says more about the strides that Jamaica is taking because they've taken some lopsided wins too, and they played the U.S. straight up, and I know that they're kind of rolling out some new imported players, like dual national recruits that they've landed that are it's like their starting 11 was like there's a lot of like English Premier League going on.
Yeah, their midfield is all stacked.
I'm kind of looking at Jamaica and I'm like, okay, damn. And then Mexico lost to Qatar today, just before we started recording. I was watching that game just because as you all know, I've been taking plenty of joy in the downfall of El Tri. They still made it out of the group despite losing to Qatar, but losing to Qatar 1-0 when you're El Tri, come on now. Thought you were El Tri. Thought you were the undisputed kings of CONCACAF. That's a bad result. Like, they still don't look like anything to be concerned about in CONCACAF. That's just how I see it. I'm way more concerned about Jamaica right now in this Gold Cup than I am about El Tri. But it was a funny game because it was very much the type of game where Mexico was dominating the run of play from minute 1 to minute 90 and racking up crazy chances. The Qatar goalkeeper was just standing on his head. They were absorbing pressure the entire time, and then they just poached the one goal and hold on. So that made it more fun to watch for me because it was just like they kept racking up that XG and they couldn't score. They couldn't do it.
It was a pretty hilarious game.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm keeping half-hearted tabs on the Gold Cup. I don't know. I still don't really care about it, but
any game that a team loses when they have 76% of the possession.
Oh yeah, run through the numbers. Here's
the stats of the game. Ball possession. Mexico 76% of the ball possession, 25 shots to 1. 3 big chances to 0. 3 big chances missed to 0 big chances missed. 589 accurate passes, completing 91% of those passes to Qatar's 125 total passes, completing
Oh my God.
60% of those passes.
Okay.
Which is hilarious.
Okay, let's just talk about a couple of those real quick. 25-1
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah.
25-1. 127 passes for a game. Like, I don't know if I can properly express like how low that is just for any game, but then also in a game that you still won. 589 to 127 is like, that's about as big a spread as you will ever see in a game. And 9 times out of 10, when you see stats like that, the team who had 589 passes is the one who wins the game.
Yeah, they win 6-0.
Yeah, 25-1 and you lost?
Yeah, dude, that's
It's
brutal.
it's so good. El Tree is like the content gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
I was saying that I was bummed out that they advanced because it would have been funnier if they got knocked out. But you know what? I amend that take. Let them keep playing.
Yeah, let them keep playing.
Let them keep cooking. I want to see this. I want to see this. This is great.
To compare to the U.S. won 6-0 today, Trinidad and Tobago, right? 556 accurate passes to TNT's 238 passes.
See, that's
So, like,
238 is like more in a game that's that one-sided possession-wise, and like all those stats, like that's normally what you would see.
Yeah.
127 is comical.
yeah.
They were almost, that's like not that far from double digits passing for the entire game.
Mexico had more shots, not on goal, but just in general, than the U.S. had. And they couldn't convert
They
one.
couldn't convert it. Oh,
They were
man.
looking like the Seattle Sounders out there.
Yeah. Oh boy. I wanted to hop around MLS just a little bit before we close this one out. There was a couple other notable results. We've been tracking this LAFC hangover pretty closely, and I'm calling it. I've been very good about waiting for the sample size to call the hangover. I've been measured. I've been saying like we need to see them get a few games under their belt. I'm not going to call it based off their first 2-3 games after CCL. It's officially a hangover. Steve Cherundolo has even been saying it himself. He said it like 4 times now, but after their last match, which was a 2-0 loss to FC Dallas, He was openly talking about how fucked up the roster rules are and how fatigued they are. So he's down with the narrative. Steve Cherundolo is like the chief perpetuator of the hangover narrative at this point. It's not just us on here saying it. Their coach is the ringleader of the narrative. So they're hungover, and that's significant for Seattle. Seattle can string together a good run of form here. They can vault over LAFC, start hopefully padding a top 2 spot, and theoretically start jostling with St. Louis for the top spot. All it's going to take is one good run. So we're going to have to see if they're able to build on this win that they just got over Houston. Vancouver game is going to be tough. BC Place, it can get rocking when the Whitecaps are good. And
They're not bad.
the Whitecaps, they're not bad. They lost their last game 3-0 to Sporting Kansas City. But
Week before beat LAFC 3-2 though.
they've been like, I think we've mentioned it a couple times, but the whole story with the Whitecaps right now, and we'll get into it more on the preview episode, but the whole story with the Whitecaps right now is that their record is not reflective of how the underlying numbers seem to say that they're performing. Like, so a lot of people think that they're a team that you could see results start to turn around as that type of stuff starts to even out. So we'll have to see if that happens. I'm just telling you what people are saying about them. So it's not going to be an easy game, but if you can just get on a run where like 80% of the time you're either drawing your road games and winning your home games, like that's kind of what you need to do to solidify your positioning, I would say. So if they can do something close to that, they'll be up there on the table. It's just a matter of if this offense can really get going, and if they can take results like that while Christian and Jordan are still out. Namely Christian. No, I would say one of my biggest takeaways, if I was going to give an overarching takeaway from what we've seen the last 8 or so weeks, it's that this team relies too much on Christian Roldan. Like, it's fine to look like one of the best teams in the league when he's playing. It's great, actually. But, like, the drop-off was too much. Like, the level that the results dipped to without him, like, you just never want to be in a situation where you rely on one guy like that, because if you don't have that guy, then you're in a tough spot, and getting results is going to be like pulling teeth. So I think it's all about figuring out if they can get to a spot where they can more consistently compete for results and wins, namely, and start scoring goals when they have to field these lineups without Christian in there. They haven't really shown that they can do that over the last few weeks, but they did finally get a win last night. So that's a positive step. It's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction, but it's all about building on it. The Portland Timbers also got waxed at Minnesota United 4-1 to fall to 5-9-7 and 12th in the Western Conference, putting them at 1.05 points per game for the season. So I'm sure you all will take some joy out of that. For however much the Portland Timbers play like Real Madrid against the Sounders, they're not having a good year. They don't look good. Evander was suspended for that game due to a ill-advised red card that he had picked up in their previous game. And I think really the story with them is just that signing hasn't hit so far. Like, you see DPs come in from other leagues and have an adjustment period a lot in this league.
Pretty normal.
It's not uncommon. It's pretty normal. But, like, we're how many games into the season now? 20, 21. Most teams have played between 19 and 21 games. They don't really have the luxury at this point to be like, Evander needs more time to gel. He needs more time to adjust. He'll get it eventually. Like, they need him to start playing like a $10 million DP. And I don't think there's any point at this season where he's looked like a $10 million DP, and that's a problem for them. People are asking if Gio Savarese is on the hot seat. If you could fire Gio Savarese, but if Evander's not producing, it doesn't matter who's coaching their team, because their most expensive, best player isn't producing. So maybe you think a new coach can get something out of them, but I don't really know why that would be. Like, they're in a tough spot with that. So if you wanted some Portland schadenfreude this week, go ahead and pull up the highlights of that 4-1 loss in Minnesota. They got mobbed on pretty good. Those were the main two that I wanted to hit on. You also had St. Louis beat the Rapids 2-0. Rapids are one of the worst teams in the league this year, but that did give St. Louis a little bit of a cushion at the top of the table. They're on 35 points with LAFC and Seattle behind at 32. Nashville SC beat DC United 2-0. DC United shipped another goal where Tyler Miller was playing like way too far up. I know Wayne Rooney, we talked about it. I know Wayne Rooney told Tyler Miller to do that. How much longer are they going to do that? Like,
that was a Taylor Twellman take too.
Did Taylor say that?
TT basically said the same thing.
I had the same reaction to it, Taylor. So great minds. But I mean, it's a good question. It is. It is actually genuine. Sometimes the worst people have correct takes. Like, it's like, why? What was he doing? He was 5 yards out of his box, taking on a guy one-on-one defending style. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? And then, buddy, you're a goalkeeper. But like, Wayne Rooney told him to do that. Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, it's not like he's doing that like freestyling on his own accord. Yeah. Like,
I feel like
he's been coached to do that, and they've now shipped 2 goals in the last like 3 weeks off that. So.
How many stops does he have against Wayne Rooney? Like, is this like a personal vendetta? Do we think?
I don't know. I'm wondering if I should look into it. The DC United press corps, maybe they're grilling Wayne about that after they shipped another goal off it. But anyway, I thought that was interesting that they're still doing that. I mean, the Whitecaps, like I mentioned, lost 3-0 at Sporting KC. So Sporting KC continue to look resurgent. They had kind of dipped a little bit after they got red hot following their bad start. But, I mean, that's a pretty emphatic win for them. And Peter Vermees, I didn't watch the game, but Peter Vermees said he felt like that match was pretty much what they are when they're at their absolute best. So there was a couple other scores around the league, but nothing that I feel the need to dive that much into. So with that, I think we're going to chalk it right there for episode 9 of Lobbing Scorchers. We'll be back with that Vancouver preview. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We racked 1,000 downloads off our first 8 episodes, and I'm so thrilled with that. I really appreciate all the support. Love you guys for downloading. Feel free to hit me on Twitter if you've got any takes. My handle will be in the description, as will Noah's.
Correct. Don't give me your takes. I won't read them.
Noah, read the people's takes.
Well, okay. Maybe.
Right.
If you're nice about it.
Read the people's takes.
If you're nice about it. Toss us a rating.
Toss us a rating. Like, subscribe, download.
Yeah.
Keep doing all that. Tell your friends. Tell your parents. Spread the word. Until next time, we out.
Peace.